So, welcome to, I guess, the first recording of the Founders Peak podcast in collaboration with Kashanomics with Arjun. My name is Arjun, and joining me today, was, I guess, on the round table, around yellow table, is Prithvi. Prithvi is founder and CEO of Borneo. Very interesting story behind the company Borneo. But, today we're here to actually sort of hear about Prithvi's story. So, welcome, Prithvi.
Thank you, Arjun. Thanks for the opportunity, and it's a privilege to be here speaking at the SSF 2023.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? Excellent environment and so on and so forth. So, Prithvi, we don't have too much time, right? We want to sort of use this 10 or 12 minutes to sort of get into the founder's mind, if I might say, or founder's head, if I might say. So let me start with a rather elaborate question, right? Start with telling us who you are, where you are in your founder's journey, right? How did it all start for you,
Absolutely.
right? And then, at the end, talk about a couple of things during this journey of yours which have had a profound impact on you as a founder, right? Whether those were pivots, whether they were life-changing events, whether they were new ideas.
Right. Absolutely.
So over to you.
Sure. So I think as a founder, I like to believe the journey begins way before you incorporate the company. It's a lifelong journey, and it doesn't end when you exit or sell the company, right? My fascination with technology started when I was 7 years old, when my brother bought home a used Commodore 64 computer. Now that gives away my age, how old I am. And we together learned basic programming.
Don't worry, I don't know when the Commodore came out.
It's a beautiful, it was, for people who used it, it's an amazing machine, right? So it was a home computer. But that's where I got fascinated with programming and technology. And that led to this curiosity about wanting to learn more, and an amazing journey, having had the opportunity to work with some of the best people early on at iconic companies like Yahoo, Facebook, and Uber. And at all these three companies, by the nature of the need of the business, they started as data being very important to their business, and eventually data becoming their business. And I saw both sides of it, how data could be very powerful from a monetization perspective, but at the same time, how it could be a deterrent when it came to, moving fast and regulatory constraints. And these are also the three companies that have paid some of the largest fines in billions of dollars when it came to data breaches and regulatory fines. And that led to some learning that if this problem is going to be there for these large companies, at what point in the life cycle or journey of a company will this problem become mainstream for every tech company, right? So that kind of started me thinking about Borneo. And 2018, 2019 is when I left Uber and started on this journey of building what I had built over the last 2 decades at these companies, and trying to take it to market for the next generation of companies like Robinhoods, Reddits, Grabs, Kareems of the world.
So let me stop you right there, right? Because I think that you said a couple of very interesting things. So firstly, very fascinated about the fact that this journey started for you at the age of 7. I actually have no memory when I was 7 years old, but that could just be because I didn't have a very memorable childhood, I guess. But working for these big companies, right? And it's a very interesting shift, because I met so many founders who've gone from large corporates, and whether they were big techs or slightly traditional businesses, doesn't matter. And then they sort of incubated their own businesses. Talk to me about a few things that you as a founder took away, not the data side of it, right? More the personal, the behavioral, the managerial side of it.
Yeah, I think great question. I think there are two things. There are a lot of learnings you take away, but there are a lot of unlearnings you got to do as well. It's
Tell me about both.
It's playing golf, though I suck at it. But so I think on the learning side, I was fortunate to have joined these companies where they were at their hyperscale mode. And at that mode, I think the ruthless focus on execution, focus on doing less versus not taking every bet, right? For example, like the big difference between Yahoo and Facebook was, at Yahoo, we tried to be good at everything, right? Yahoo had Yahoo Messenger, Yahoo Mail, everything. But when we went to Facebook, Zuck was ruthlessly focused on being the best social network in the world. And we chose that over a lot of other bets that Facebook decided not to take. And Google was another company. Google became the best in search. Facebook became the best in social. Uber became the best in ride sharing. So I think the founder and founder CEO's ability to ruthlessly focus on one big bet and put everything in the company behind was one takeaway I think every founder has. And I've kind of struggled with this myself.
I like that.
Right? I think the unlearning was when you work at these companies, you have access to some of the best talent in the world. You have, as these companies go, you have access to unlimited capital, right? Relatively speaking. Now, when you start from zero, the problem is it's pretty difficult to attract the best talent in the world to come work for you, right? Though you have good talent, it's limited, number one. And number two, even capital. So unlearning, right? Like how do you kind of focus and choose and how you work with these constraints? But then, of course, you do have the capability of turning and moving things around really, really quickly. You're like, you're on a motorboat and not like a cruise ship anymore, right? And that becomes your superpower, right? So the ability to kind of focus, persevere, the tenacity and the ability to move fast. And as a founder, you need to wear these as badges of honor and kind of work with your strengths versus trying to say, oh, I have limited capacity.
Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit harder for you. So,
Absolutely.
Those are good words,
Right.
and I think they're great behavioral
Right.
skills to have. But unfortunately, behavioral skills only sort of part of the problem,
Absolutely.
right? You obviously got into something which was building it up from scratch.
Right.
So as a founder, what helped you get these people? So even if they weren't A++,
Yeah.
You needed some very good people, right?
Yeah.
You needed people who would go the extra mile, if not the extra 10 mile.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, as a founder, how do you achieve that? How do you do that?
I think two things, right? One is I would be lying, but if your past experience and your contacts and credibility you build in the industry is very, very important, right? Because people generally tend to follow other people who have had some level of success or they have worked with, right? That is there. If I tell you not, that's a given. The other thing also is working on a hard problem and a bold mission. Right? If you look at Borneo, our mission is we're building the guardrails for the new data economy. Data is the new oil, right? So going out to people who are smarter than you are and kind of convincing them that you have the ability to join this company at an early stage and build something which is going to be fundamental to pretty much every other tech company out there. It's like the mission has to be big and really bold enough. And the technology you're building or the product you're building has to have enough challenge, because that's what attracts great mind. And that's when because that's what attracted me to move from Yahoo to Facebook and Facebook to Uber. So I think those are two things that we have kind of consistent, and that also becomes a great filter for you when you're looking at candidates.
So where are you on the journey right now? Both as a company and as a person?
I think both ways, I would say 1%, right? I think the mission is...
Are you just trying to steal?
I think I am, right? But I think, and this is true, I've had the good fortune to have some amazing founders and investors and advisors also. I think the journey is never complete, because if you're building something for a large market, the market's evolving, the market's only getting bigger. And as a founder also personally, what you realize is every year you make a ton of mistakes, you learn from them, and you're constantly learning. Right. So I feel that we are we are actually year 4 of the company, but in terms of the problem set that we're trying to solve, right, we are helping companies safely use data. And now with the whole Gen AI revolution, we got to help companies safely use data in Gen AI. So that's a new problem space that's come. That's like a 10, 20-year old problem space that we need to go after.
So Prithvi, you said something which I think is quite noble for you to say, that you keep making mistakes and you keep learning from. Talk about a couple of your mistakes.
I think mistake number 1, right? When you build something internally, which is, I've always worked for B2C companies, it's adopting technology is very easy. You go to a peer, you go to a manager, and somebody puts in someone's KPI and they use your product. And you think you built the best product in the world. When you build a product for a third-party customer, even the customer is your best friend, try selling it. You will be faced with rejections one after the other. And a lot of time, it's not because the product is bad. It's maybe the positioning is bad, or maybe you don't know how to sell. And you learn. And it's taken me 4 years and I'm still learning, right?
Yeah, but let me make it a little bit more personal to you.
Yeah.
That's a business mistake.
Right.
Personally, what have been some of the mistakes you've made as a leader?
As a leader, I think one of the biggest personal mistakes that most founders make, and I've seen myself making it again and again, is you expect and you treat every employee like a founder, right? And I think I have a lot of learning and maturity kind of to grow into there. What happens is you think you're so passionate about something and you're working so hard, and everything, company is everything for you, and you expect everybody in the company to be that way, right? There are people who are that way and there are people not, and people who are not, it's not their fault, it's your fault. right? You got to learn very, very quickly that you don't want a miniature copy or a version of yourself. You want diversity in the team. You want the thought diversity. You don't want everybody to be like you.
Yeah, you don't want mini-me's.
Mini-me's, right? And I think that is very hard big me's, right? Very hard to digest, and it's heartbreaking at times. You let go, you hire some of your best friends, you let them go, and I think that journey can take its toll, right? And I think that's been one of the hardest things for me.
So we're running out of time.
Right.
One final question. I'll go back to the start of where you began, which is you said you like to keep learning.
Right.
Right? What do you do as a founder who has not enough hours in a day to run his business, possibly has a family,
right,
potentially once in a while takes a break?
Right.
How do you compensate for not having enough time to learn?
So I think you have to make learning your job. And what I mean by that is, what I have done is, if you look at my board, it's a bunch of founders who've done super well, right? So I use them. So my board meetings are learning board meetings. And same thing in hiring, right? I have a simple rule that doesn't matter what level, designation, position I have to hire someone where I can learn something from them. May it be product marketing, may it be marketing, may it be technology, may it be anything. And what happens is your learning happens then on the job. Of course, outside of that, whenever I have time, I work for a non-profit and all that stuff, but all technology focused. So that's where some of this happens. But I think the only way you cannot carve out time, say I'm going to go learn. You got to kind of pick challenges and projects that kind of accelerate your learning curve. Just push it.
You're a man after my heart. You know why I do this every day or every week?
Absolutely.
Because I learn.
Same here.
Right?
Likewise.
Well, it was great to have you.
Likewise.
Right?
Thanks.
And I wish you the very best. Yeah. Wish Borneo the very best. And I know you have clients in my part of the world, in the Middle East. Yeah. If you ever find yourself lost on the streets of Dubai, give me a call. It will be a pleasure to sort of carry on this discussion.
Likewise.
And maybe I can have you on sort of my podcast, which is about an hour-long episode,
absolutely,
where we can get into the depth of your business, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot for coming.
Thanks
Enjoy
a lot,
SFF.
folks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.